Okay, so our next speaker is co-founder of Aventis previously, a company she exited, her and her co-founder. And now they're building something new called the Ginni AI, and she's going to tell us more about AI and product. Nihal Faris.
Thanks, Dambi. Everyone, good afternoon. Do you have still energy left for two more talks? First, thanks, Dambi, and the entire Xpand team for having me. It's a great event. And before jumping into my talk, actually, I want to say kudos to Ridwan for the amazing session before, because I've lived through those issues and I actually learned them the hard way. So anyone who's building a new startup or like at any early stage, pay attention to that, it's gold mine. Okay, jumping to my talk. So my name is Nihal Faris, and I'm going to talk about, surprise, building AI products. Of course, there's nothing else to talk about. There was a lot of things that have been mentioned from different perspectives. I hope I will give you another perspective about this and the struggles that I've seen trying to build my first AI startup. But before jumping into this, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I usually describe myself as a software engineer by education and a problem solver by heart. As a middle child and the eldest daughter in the family, I had to be the problem solver to survive, basically. And my love for problem solving actually led me to love of math, and I used to spend my weekends solving math problems in front of the TV as a hobby. And it led me to studying computer engineering, and I became a software engineer like 15 maybe years ago. And then I discovered product management, which I'd say was the ultimate problem solving for me, because you don't only solve problems internally, you solve problems for everyone. For the company, for the customers, anyone who has a problem, they always go to the product manager. So I got into product management with my first startup, Eventus. As Tambi mentioned, I founded Eventus in 2012, building engagement platform for events out of Egypt, and then we scaled across the MENA region. It was a really interesting story, a textbook, I'd say, roller coaster, but I won't get into the details of this. It's a story for another day. But thank God it was one of the few roller coaster rides which ended in an exit, as Tambi mentioned. So after the acquisition of Eventus, I found myself with some time on my hand to look for more problems to solve. So I turned into one of the problems and the challenges that I faced in Eventus myself, which was scaling sales teams. Next. So Ginni AI was born from a personal problem that we faced in Eventus, and we've seen a lot of startups struggle with that. And like, as Ridwan mentioned, like there's different stages of product market fit. You would find a lot of startups being able to achieve the first level, like having early traction and paying customers, but it's very difficult for a lot of startups to scale their companies across those all stages. One of the challenges is building the product, and another challenge is actually scaling the sales team. So usually in early startups, the founders and the early employees are very good at selling their B2B products because they know the product really well, they know the market really well, they know the industry really well. But once they want to expand beyond that and build like structure and processes, most of the companies struggle because turning this into a repeatable model is not something that everyone know how to do, and it's sometimes looked at as an art, not a science. Once I started looking at like the big companies that have done this, the successful companies, how have they turned their early idea into a big company and how they scaled their sales teams, I discovered that there's a lot of science to it and not only art. So I thought that there's an opportunity for AI to automate this. And this is how Ginni AI was born, trying to help people scale their B2B SaaS teams and companies. So I knew a lot about the product. I knew a lot about the problem, sorry. I knew a lot about the customer. But it was my first time building an AI product or an AI startup, which was scary a little bit. So I had to teach myself a lot of things. And today I'll be walking through most of the lessons that I've learned so far. before we jump right into it, so by raise of hand, like how many people use ChatGPT on a daily basis? How many people use other tools than ChatGPT? Okay, how many use all of them, but actually choose what to use based on the context or the task at hand? Okay, really good. So once I started looking at like, now I want to use AI and build a new AI startup, and like AI is like a buzzword and everyone is excited about AI, I tried to understand like how a new startup can compete against like the big companies or like the bigger incumbents. So I wanted to understand like what each company will have as an unfair advantage and what new startups can have as an unfair advantage. So for example, if you look at OpenAI, they have the top AI talents in the world. I don't think that anyone can compete with them on this. Microsoft, I'd say, like they're very smart about how they are handling this with the OpenAI partnership and strong enterprise ties because they're embedded in every corporate and every big company. And they were very, very quick to act and adopt a lot of AI technologies into their products. If you look at Meta, for example, Meta has tons of chat-based data. So anyone who's building something conversational, I'd say Meta would be the easiest one like to beat them or to compete with them. Google is spending like 20 billion. This is what I've learned, 20 billion a year on DeepMind. Some people would say that they don't have a lot to show for it, but I'm sure they are taking it seriously because like the more AI is advancing, the main source of the revenue, which is search, is being affected, so it's really important for them. Amazon have their retail dominance. Apple, for example, Apple, if they were able to run LLMs on each iPhone or each device, imagine like, I think they will destroy a lot of other startups. So I wanted to understand like, where is the opportunity for smaller startups and where is the opportunity for starting something new. So if you're comparing like the big companies with the startups, as I said, like they have tons of data. They have established distribution channels. So once they build something, it's very easy to launch it to millions and millions and billions of people. They have the top talents. They have unlimited resources. One disadvantage big companies used to have in the past, which is speed, but I don't see this happening right now because actually most of the bigger companies are the faster ones to deploy a lot of AI features and a lot of AI products. So they are quicking actually. They're quick to deploy a lot of new features, but there is still some risk to the reputation and the stock price sensitivity. For example, Google's stock price like dropped 9%. I remember. I think after the embarrassing situation with like Bard's result, like inaccurate result, something like that. Meta actually had an LLM for scientific paper launched 3 days or like 5 days maybe before ChatGPT, and it was shut down because of bad criticism, and then ChatGPT came. Again, like the bigger companies, I'd say they have the risk of the reputation. They won't have the agility to try new things and things out of the box, which is where startups come. We have high risk tolerance because we have nothing to lose, basically. So, and we're used to it. We are more agile and we're more flexible. Speed and rapid execution and faster iteration is one thing. We don't have a lot of data. We don't have a lot of distribution challenge. We have a lot of resource constraints. But there's always ways to overcome all those limitations. So when I looked at all this, I thought that the bigger companies would be way better at anything general. Like anything general, I'd say Google, OpenAI, any one of the big companies will eventually add it and will eventually crush any new startup. In few years, I'd say like few foundational AI models will be there, like base foundational models, like 1 or 2 maybe, and then few specialized one. And of course, like people who are working on the AGI are like the big ones and OpenAI. So these are the areas that I'd say like startups would try to stay away from them. So where would startups shine? Like how startups can build new products in an era where everyone have like access to unlimited resources. I say like specialization is the key. And by specialization here, I mean focusing on a very narrow problem and a very narrow use case and do it really, really well. Because I think what startups have best is the ability to see underserved markets and underserved gaps and things that maybe the bigger companies, they usually don't value so much, and they don't see the big value because they see it's a very small thing. It's a niche. It won't get us so many money, so let's not focus on it. And this is where startups usually shine. So by specialization here, as I mentioned, is having a niche focus. So by having a niche focus, you will be able to deeply understand what problem you are solving. You would be closer to the customer and to the person that you are building for. So we're building more relationships with them. You will be able to iterate more rapidly and develop more quickly by building like a workflow around a specific use case and a specific problem. But I think like one of the problems that I was facing since starting like Ginni was with everything happening in AI, there is a lot of things happening every day, there is a lot of opportunities coming up every day, and sometimes I feel like I'm getting like distracted, and you always see like we can do this, and we can do this, and we can add this feature, and we can build that. AI is so much. Whenever I'm confused, I always go back to this, solving a real customer problem. Because I think like it always starts and ends with the customer. So it starts by asking yourself, what customer problem am I solving? And it ends again by asking yourself, what customer's problem am I solving? So whenever I feel distracted, whenever I feel like I'm being overwhelmed, I always go back, like what actually initiated us to start? So focus on a real customer problem. Another problem I've seen a lot, or like a misconception maybe, people think that AI is the answer. Maybe AI is a tool. At the end of the day, it's not a solution. I think it was the same a little bit with a smartphone, and whenever like in 2010 or something, when everyone was building a mobile app. So when anyone is talking about his thing, I'm building a mobile app is the answer. Now AI is the same. I'm building an AI copilot. I'm building an AI bot. But again, remember, AI is a tool. It's a means. And I think this actually also ties to the thing that Dr. Basil, I think, was mentioning yesterday. The root cause of so many projects failing is they get distracted by how technology is great, how technology is shiny, and they focus on what technology will allow us to build rather than actually focus on what is the customer problem and what is the main problem that we're trying to solve. So avoiding the hype, I think, I'm not sure Tembi can tell us like how many startups do you hear pitching to you every day, startups about AI? A lot, yeah. Because I think like people think that once I say AI, it will open a lot of doors for me, which is somehow true for a little bit. Like it can open some doors, but again, if you are not solving a customer problem, a real problem that is delivering value, having an AI won't add anything. So one of the biggest challenges I was facing when I started working on Ginni, and it was scary a little bit for me, was data and data dependency. Because building AI products requires a lot of data. Because the more data you have, the better quality data you have, the better the results will be. And as a startup, just starting, not too much money to buy your own data, or like not having created data from another project or something like that, how can we start building AI products? But the interesting part about what's happening right now with LLMs is the ability of getting actually great results from just like few shot learning, like giving the AI some good examples. You don't need like tons of data, so it's actually empowering everyone to start. It's not as a big problem as it used to be. But one of the things that I've like, we've actually tried some of these. So what we're building is something based on voice AI. So we needed a lot of voice sales calls, which we couldn't access. So we did like use the synthetic data. So we used AI actually to generate a lot of synthetic data that we can play with and test with. A very interesting approach I've seen a lot of people do, and I would like to call it like a data magnet. You know, the lead magnets trend that was maybe like 10 years ago, when people like offer something and have like a sign-up page so that you can enter your email and then give you like a PDF or a book or something like that. They call it lead magnet. I see a lot of people doing this, and actually we've experimented a little bit with it, is the data magnet. So develop something or build something very hacky or very quick, or something that offer a very simple and quick value to the user, so that they can use it on a daily basis, and you can collect data while you are building towards what you want to build in the future in terms of the bigger vision that requires more data. And a lot of the I call them the thin wrappers around OpenAI right now. A lot of them are doing this. They are trying to build something very quickly, launch something very quickly, collect a lot of data, and then invest later in this. So another thing was really interesting for me, especially that I'm very passionate about design, is how the design has been impacted by AI. One element I've seen is because AI is giving us the power to create. It's giving us all the power to be writers, to be designers, to be script writers. Anyone can do anything. So a lot of people are incorporating co-creation, like using the AI to enable more people to create content. And I'd say like the coolest example on this was LinkedIn, the articles, the collaborative article feature that they've launched, and they've done it really, really well, allowing people to create more content through AI. Another thing I've noticed that is changing in the design is how everything now is not consistent and not what I call it, like variable with AI. Before, like when we used to develop any software solution before, we've learned, especially in design, that consistency is the key. The user needs to understand, like when they click on this button, this action will happen. When they click on this text field, this will happen. So it was like very important for everyone to know how everything will behave and what is the results out of everything. But with AI, it's different, because the results from AI is different each time. So this is something that's completely changing how we are designing the experiences. It's not the same. The user, whenever they are interacting with the product, the output is different. So we need to educate, and we need to adapt our designs to accommodate that it's not consistent as before, which is actually a good thing that we can take to empower us actually to let people build better features. And because, for example, like there was I think the Mid-Journey, they allow people to get like variable different images for each design they are creating, and explore like which direction they want to take. So another thing for the design is that Personalization now is the norm. So with everything that we are interacting with, everything is personalized to my experience. Everything is learning what I like. Everything is learning my style of writing. Everything is learning how I want to work. So I'd say like there will be a lot of changes in how products are built, focusing on personalization. Another thing I've seen also is the problem with AI is designing for imperfection. So AI is not always right. So you might get incorrect results, for example, or you might get something that is not what the user is looking for. So how are you going to handle this? One design pattern, and I think Mahdi, I think yesterday talked about something similar, which is like allowing users to verify the output from AI. So if we are allowing AI to generate results for us and we are not confident about how those results are, how much accurate are they? So a very simple design pattern would be to allow the user, a human being, to verify if the result is correct or not. Another also interesting approach here was the, I'd say that also the mid-journey one. If you are building, which is I'd call fault tolerance, if you are building a product and the product has an AI model or has an AI algorithm, and you know that one time the user will like the result and 3 other times they won't like the results, how do you think you will design a product like this? So for them, they decided to generate 4 low resolution images because generating the images takes a lot of time. So instead of taking a lot of time and then generating one image that 1 out of 4 times the user will not like, they instead opted to generate 4 low resolution images. And then once the user is satisfied with which one they want to get, they will generate the better quality one, which is again like understanding your algorithm, understanding how your AI or the model works affects a lot how the experience and how the product and how the design is built. And here is the LinkedIn, and also like I think Spotify for me are the winner for anything related to personalization. They had the DJ feature, which was actually like mind-blowing for me. Another thing I've noticed that has changed with AI is how teams work. So I think AI is empowering everyone to do more with less. So I believe there will be a rise in smaller teams because now you have like an army of assistants, you have an army of like AI agents who can write for you, who can design for you, who can do a lot of things for you. So I believe that a lot of people will embrace smaller teams and being more lean. Another thing is the rise of generalists, and I think it will be very important for AI because in a lot of domains, people will need to have multiple backgrounds. For example, if you are working as Basil mentioned yesterday, there is a problem with like bio AI products or projects because either the person who's leading those projects is from a technical background, understand the AI very well, but he doesn't understand anything about the health space, or they are from the health space and they don't understand anything about the technology. So I'd say like if people are thinking about like what's the future for work and if AI is actually going to take our jobs, I believe myself that being a journalist is something that's very powerful and very effective in an era like this. Another element would be like the key role of technical product managers because AI depends a lot on technicality and requires a lot of understanding of what's possible and what's not possible. So I say that there will be more and more technical people getting into product managers role, which is a great thing, I'd say. Another thing I'm also excited about is an era where teams are empowered to take and make their own decisions, especially in bigger companies, without waiting for approvals. If we have tons of data, and if we have intelligent AI as that we have right now, there is a specific level of decisions that can be taken without the need to go take approval from higher management levels. I believe teams will be more autonomous, and I believe those changes will be very important, especially for startups. Another problem I faced when I started working on Ginni was the uncertainty. I knew the problem, and I knew what I wanted to solve, but I didn't know what to expect will be the result from the AI, because there's a lot of ambiguity and a lot of uncertainty when you're working with AI. What helped me actually throughout this journey is embracing that you don't know and embracing the uncertainty. Because I'd say whatever we have now will be outdated in a year. So the most important thing is to build evolving foundations. If we know that everything will change, if we know that in a year the AI world as we know will be completely different, it doesn't worth it to build very rigid foundations. And when I'm talking about foundations here, I'm talking about a technology one, like architecture. So this is something that we've been doing, is making sure that whatever decisions we are making right now is not going to block us in the future. Design decisions is another thing. For example, AI now is mainly experienced in a chat-based. Most of the AI products now, you talk to it, it replies back. So everyone is building everything around chat, which might not be the case for long. So I'd say make sure when you are building your product, you are building very flexible and adaptable foundations, because again, whatever we have now will not be the same in 1 year. Another important thing for us actually was the rule of adaptive decision making, which I think similar to what in Amazon they call the two-way doors. A lot of decisions are very easy reversible. It's very important to differentiate between what decisions you can reverse and what decisions you shouldn't. Since everything is moving very fast, I'd say most of the decisions should be reversible. So you shouldn't make decisions that you cannot reverse in the future. And the most important thing actually for dealing with uncertainty in the age of AI was actually focusing on faster iterations and building tighter loops of release and feedback and iterate, release and feedback and iterate, and release and feedback and iterate. Because I think in a world where everyone has access to unlimited resources, everyone has access to unlimited knowledge with AI, I'd say what will differentiate one company from another is the speed at which they are learning about their customers, the speed at which they are learning a unique insight about the customer and adapting their products accordingly. This would be the most important thing for startups. And I think another thing was that I started seeing when I was talking to customers is the fear of AI. If you look at any market will be any growing market, I think, will depend a lot on how fast people are adopting the technologies. If we look back at the smartphone era, I think the iPhone was released in 2007. I think it took around like 4, maybe 5 years or like 6 years for companies to catch up, and most companies, they had like mobile apps, which was, I'd say, like a decent speed. I think with the AI it's pretty more like we are moving way more faster than this, because I think in less than a year, most of the big companies actually adopted a lot of AI in their products. But I think the one biggest barrier would be the fear, which is something actually that we faced at Ginni, because we are building a sales copilot, as everyone like to call everything copilot right now. So one of the first things that we've heard from customers is, are you going to replace my job? Are you going to take my job? So people are actually afraid of using AI because they don't know what they will be doing in the future. To be able to overcome a challenge like this, first thing would be to understand the fear, to understand that people actually, why people are afraid. People don't understand how AI works. And for us, what made sense was actually transparency, and be transparent about how AI works and its limitation. Yes, we are trying to automate a lot of things in the sales processes and the sales operations, but we still know, since we don't have AGI yet, that the only thing AI cannot do is the human part, the empathy part, which is in sales is the most important thing. So whatever solutions are out there, no way AI solution will remove humans out of the equation. So understanding this fear helped us a lot in phrasing how are we selling the solution to our customers, and how are we talking about the product. Another thing is being very user-centric, and I think also someone mentioned something related to this yesterday, because people are afraid of the output of AI. I think Mahdi, he's mentioned like they tag whatever insights they generate in cycle with something like that says that it's generated by AI, so that people can tell the difference. Because again, like one of the biggest problems with user adoption would be, am I dealing with a human being? Am I dealing with content that is generated by a human being? Am I dealing with the content that is generated by an AI? So I think putting the user back at the center of everything helps overcome all those challenges. And involving the user in the development, as we try and test as early as we can with customers, we will be able to understand their fears, and we will be able to overcome their fears. Before jumping to the key takeaways, I think, like as I mentioned, like the AI market is growing really, really fast, and I think there's a great opportunity. I remember I heard someone saying that there will be around like 1,000 companies, enterprise companies, spending millions on AI. There'll be around 100 companies spending 100 millions on AI, and there will be around 10 companies spending like billions on AI. There are companies out there spending so much money on AI, and they are waiting for people to come to them with solutions. So I think it's a great time to be an entrepreneur. Challenging, a little bit challenging, but a great time. So to summarize what I've learned so far, again, the most important thing is solve a real customer problem. Always start and end with the customer problem. What problem are you solving? Putting AI on everything won't make it better. Solving a real customer problem and delivering a real value to the user is the solution. Technical product managers, as I mentioned, I think it's very cool now for technical people. I think there is a lot of technical people here, right? How many technical people do we have here? Yeah, so it's an area for you if you want to change courses. Again, speed. Speed is very important for startups to stay competitive, especially because AI actually now lowers the barrier to entry. AI now enable anyone to be a developer. I know a lot of people who actually build solutions just by asking ChatGPT and by using GitHub Copilot. So once the barrier to entry for anything is low, the competition will be more fierce. And the most important thing throughout this journey for me was to always keep learning, to always keep asking, to always keep looking for mentors and great minds to learn from. And the last thing I'd say again, like AI is moving at a very huge speed. I think we cannot imagine like what the world will be in a year from now, and building products for a world that you cannot imagine is a little bit difficult. But I think it's a great problem to have, a problem to solve. The problem solver in me is excited about this. So yeah, that's wraps my talk today. I'm not sure if we have time for some questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Nihal.
Thank you.